Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are regarded as two of the greatest shooting guards of all time. I mean, listen, I wouldn't argue that. They possess all of the things you would want a shooting guard to possess. What makes them particularly great is they would last in any era of basketball. So, in today's video, I am basically taking all the great attributes that they both possess and combining them into one singular player. Yes, talking about defense, post ability, mid-range, and meet Jordan Bryant. Yes, bro, a combination of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant as one player, and he will be taking over the NBA one step at a time. We're going to see how his career plays out and if he shakes out to be one of the greatest players of all time, just like his DNA would insist. So without further ado, we start with year one. Now, JB would start his career with the San Antonio Spurs, which means he's teaming up with the all-world rookie Victor Wembanyama, and these two will form a dynamic upstart duo in San Antonio to give the fans hope. I mean, you guys think about it. These are two of the arguably greatest prospects of all time, and they're on the same team. Jordan Bryant came in averaging 27 and 2 steals, but Victor Wembanyama would take home Rookie of the Year honors, but it didn't matter to these two because they would lead the San Antonio Spurs not only to the playoffs, but a 5th seed with 47 wins. First round matchup, they would see the LA Clippers with the healthy Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and you guys know how that went. The Spurs would get bounced out in the first round, but not to worry, this is only the beginning. Man, it's okay, JB. Year two provided a little bit of a setback as the Spurs would not make the playoffs, but you could honestly see the improvement in the overall team chemistry, and there was excitement heading into year three. Victor and JB were on the same page, and with the drafting of a new point guard, JB's numbers would go down, his assists would go up, but nonetheless, the team record will be improved and they'll be right back in the playoffs as a 5th seed. Speaking of improvement, this man Jordan Bryant was a defensive monster. He would lead the league in steals and win Defensive Player of the Year in only his 3rd season. The Spurs would face off against the Thunder in the first round, 5th seed versus 4th seed. These two teams were both young, kind of equally rated, but the Spurs would be the victors of this series as Victor and JB would sweep the Oklahoma City Thunder, earning them their first playoff series victory and hope. But of course, we facing the Luka Doncic Magic in the second round, and you guys already know how that goes. Despite JB having a great playoff performance in the second round, Luka was just too much to handle. Hey, not to worry. We're back in year 4. JB and Victor are back ready for more, man. Listen, they made the semifinals last year. They pick up Jaren Jackson Jr. as well as Desmond Bane, and the team goes 59 and 23, earning them a 2nd seed in the Western Conference. Victor taking on Depoy, and they'll face off the Blazers in the first round, which saw these two coming into their own. I'm talking about there was comparisons between a young Kobe and Shaq. No pun intended. Now, obviously, we know Jordan Bryant's DNA makeup, but of course, they would dismantle the Portland Trail Blazers in round 1, winning the series in 5 games, and JB and Victor were on their way. Second round, they will face a Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson-led Pelicans team. Despite getting off to a rough start, Victor and the Spurs would snatch that back quickly and push this to a 7-game series back at their home court after some clutch late-game free throws from Victor, and JB, well, it's in his DNA, y'all. He would close out the Pelicans in Game 7 at home, and the Spurs were on their way to the Western Conference Finals in year 4 of JB's career. Hey, excitement. We're ready to see who they face off, man. And of course, they face off a rematch against Luka and the Mavericks, and while they were more prepared this time for sure, I'm talking about JB and them came out punching on the road, but it's Luka, man. There's only so much you can do, especially in the game of 2K, and despite having great performances, I'm talking about all-time great for their age, it just quite wasn't enough to handle the Mavericks as Luka and them boys would send the Spurs home yet again. Not gonna lie to y'all, bro. It's the 2nd straight year. It's probably becoming personal. And you know JB's makeup, bro. I took that personally. The Spurs will watch the Mavericks celebrate on their home court, and the next year, no games were played. Victor would take home MVP, and they would ironically face the Mavericks in the first round as the Spurs would have the much better record, and we saw a different outcome. It did take 7 games, but with JB averaging 30 points and 2.5 steals on 60% shooting in the first round series, the Spurs would finally overcome the Mavericks in 7 and move on to the semifinals, which they felt like, listen, the only team we lost to were the Mavericks. They would face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the next round with their confidence at an all-time high. They would take an immediate 3-0 series lead, and with the game in hand, down 2 on the road with a chance to sweep. Hey, listen, this is what makes legendary careers. JB would hit the game-winning 3 on the road in Minnesota in the semifinals to complete the 4-0 sweep of the Minnesota Timberwolves and send the Spurs right back to the conference finals to now face Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. And listen, at this point, their mantra was no Luka, no problem. JB, Wemby, and the Spurs will take care of the Memphis Grizzlies. Talking about giving Ja a taste of his own medicine. It got spooky out there. Desmond Bane and Jared Jackson will beat their former teams, and the Spurs will be headed to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2014, man. Who knew that JB and Wemby and these guys would be that team? And now they'll face the Miami Heat just like old times. But this isn't LeBron and D-Wade led Miami Heat. This is Bam Adebayo led Miami Heat. And thus, JB and the Spurs took care of all problems, and they were en route to win the first ever championship in their careers.
Hey man, year 5 proved to be a great year for them.
The Spurs were finally NBA champions once again. Hey, is this the beginning to an illustrious career for JB? This is championship number 1.
Only in year 5.
Well, he still has many to go. Despite his great performance, he would not win Finals MVP as Victor had an all-time undeniably great performance.
And we bounced right into year 6.
The Spurs would find themselves right back in the conference finals against the Mavericks. They just can't avoid them at this point, bruh. It's a rivalry. But they took care of business this time around with relative ease, and they'll be right back in the NBA Finals once again with a chance to repeat. And while JB didn't win Finals MVP the first year, he had a chance to continue to make his legacy known with the chance to win back-to-back championships. And they'll face the Washington Wizards of all teams. And at this point, it was becoming obvious. This dynamic duo was just too much to handle right now. The league hasn't had an answer for them yet, and it definitely wasn't on the Washington Wizards, as the Spurs would sweep the Wizards in 4 games, yet Victor would win MVP once again, leaving people scratching their heads like, hey, who is the real alpha dog on this team? Well, JB and Wemby tried to block out all of that noise as they were chasing a back-to-back-to-back championship, which hadn't been done since the LA Lakers in the early 2000s, and that's exactly the type of mindset they were on, as JB will win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And between those two guys, man, I'm telling y'all, bro, hey, in the words of Skip Bayless, I've never seen anything like this. Jordan Bryant would average 35 points, 3 steals, en route to another conference finals in which they will face the Memphis Grizzlies after beating the Phoenix Suns in 6, and Ja Morant and them boys were in the way of yet another championship run, and they had to do it to him, bro.
Hey man, if you're a Grizzlies fan, if you're a Ja Morant fan, close your eyes, bro, because the Spurs, JB, Wemby had to kill them again en route to another finals appearance. And who would they face this time?
The Nets, featuring Josh Giddey and Karl Anthony Towns. And I apologize to anybody that loves Cat, but listen, if you're telling me Karl Anthony Towns is in the way of a championship, hey, we getting that ring, bruh. And that's exactly what the Spurs did, as they would take care of the Nets in 5 games, reminiscent of the early 2000s. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. 3-peat. JB, Wemby, champions for the 3rd time in a row. But as the story has continued to be written, Victor Wembanyama outplayed Jordan Bryant in the finals once again, taking home a 3rd straight finals MVP. And again, the fans are left wondering, who needs who? The team would pick up Jonathan Kuminga and Robert Williams in the offseason, and we're looking at them celebrating yet another ring, wondering, are they going to really win 4 in a row? Well, that was the mindset. JB came out in this season ready to dominate. He wanted that finals MVP more than anything else, bro. He's tired of the questions. I mean, bro, when you look at his overall number, he's the #1 player on any other team in the NBA. But when he's on this team, he's balancing it out with Victor Wembanyama. But this season, he averaged career-high 33.7 points on 60% shooting, not to mention 2.5 steals. And there was one particular game I tuned into where he was being guarded by Dick. And listen, bro, he gave Dick all that he could handle. Yeah, I'm probably out of pocket for saying it like that, but just know he was being guarded by Grady Dick this entire game, and Dick did not phase him in this game, as he would drop 60 points, a career high. And I'm telling you guys, performances like that, why this season was special. He won an award that he has not been able to win at this point in his career, and you guys already know. Jordan Bryant was named MVP of the entire NBA this season, not to mention winning Defensive Player of the Year as well, and the Spurs were primed for a 4-peat. They won a team record 70 wins in the regular season and played the Golden State Warriors in the first round. Hey, no contest. They would sweep the Warriors in the first round, headed to the semifinals yet again, where they would face Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic in the Denver Nuggets. I thought this was an interesting matchup. It was like watching 2 of the same player go at it, as Anthony Edwards was determined not to get swept by the Jordan Bryant and the Spurs. He was diving on the floor. He was doing everything possible in his power to avoid that deadly sweep. So they gave him a gentleman's sweep and won 4-1, and they would advance to the conference finals for the 5th time in a row, looking to go to their 4th championship, and they would face the Phoenix Suns. And hey, it's in his DNA JB took everything out on the Phoenix Suns, celebrating on their court. He put on a masterclass. He even fouled out in game 4, but it didn't matter because in the waning moments of the game, the Phoenix Suns could not capitalize, and the Spurs would sweep them and head to their 4th straight championship with a ring in mind, trying to be the first team to ever four-peat in the modern era, and they would face the Brooklyn Nets yet again. And I'm telling y'all, bro, I already told y'all, bro, Karl Anthony Towns in the way of a championship, ring me. That's exactly what JB and Victor said, as they would just dominate all over the Brooklyn Nets. No contest once again, and the Spurs were the first team to ever win 4 championships in a row, and they did it with the guys, man, the originals. They drafted this team, and now JB had his 4th ring, and he was getting ever so close to getting 6. And this time around, y'all, it was different. JB was the guy. He averaged 37 for the entire playoffs and won Finals MVP, but was this the last time we would see this team together? Could there be a possible breakup? Offseason was approaching. JB was a free agent. Victor was a free agent. And the Spurs prioritized signing Victor Wembanyama to a longer-term deal with more money, and JB didn't appreciate that. So, he decided it was time for change. He wanted to prove he's an alpha dog and can win anywhere. And he took his talents to the East. He would join the Indiana Pacers of all teams to join. But hey, his vision was clear. He would join Tyrese Halliburton in forming immediately one of the best backcourts in the NBA on both sides of the ball. The two had immediate chemistry. I mean, Tyrese is like, listen, I'm playing with a 4-time champ and we the same age basically. It's crazy. JB balled out in an Indiana Pacers uniform for his first season, averaging 33.3 points on 60% shooting and just dominating on both sides of the basketball, as the backcourt would lead the Pacers to the 5th seed with 52 wins, which is not shabby. But listen, the question is, can JB really lead this team to the NBA Finals after leaving an all-time great Spurs team? And speaking of all-time great, Victor was the MVP of this season, but that's not on the radar for the Pacers, as they are in the Eastern Conference. They will face the Boston Celtics in the first round, and just like clockwork, JB was ready to go. He made a promise to himself. Hey, he's ready to prove everybody wrong. He's the reigning Finals MVP, joining a new team, dropping 43 points in Game 4 in a sweep of the Boston Celtics in the first round after being a lower seed. They will go on to face the reigning Eastern Conference champion Brooklyn Nets. And what did I say? What have I been saying, bro? If Karl Anthony Towns is in the way of getting a championship, move out the way, bro. The Pacers would take care of complete business against the Brooklyn Nets. And listen, we're watching JB make history. He's trying to lead yet another team to the NBA Finals, and he's now 1 series away. They will play the Philadelphia 76ers in the conference finals, which featured an older Antetokounmpo and Jalen Green. That didn't matter to JB, bro. I'm telling y'all, he's been battle tested. JB was giving it to the Sixers all series, as the Pacers will complete one of the most dominant Eastern Conference runs in a while, as they will beat the Sixers in 5 games, only losing 1 game the entire playoffs thus far, en route to another NBA Finals for JB, and he will face a familiar foe. Luka and the Mavericks were back. They would beat the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals to get here, and we know why, bro. This man Luka was all-time great, but so is JB. He would drop 48 points, 4 steals on 17-25 shooting in Game 1, and the Pacers would jump on the Mavericks, winning Game 1 of the series, but it was very short-lived. The Mavericks punched the Pacers right back in the mouth. The Mavericks would win a couple straight and eventually take a 3-2 series lead, leaving the Pacers to have to win a Game 6 at home in order to force a Game 7 on the road in Dallas. This is exactly what they did, and again, it's in his DNA, bro. Jordan Bryant in Game 7 of the NBA Finals versus the Dallas Mavericks had one of the most efficient shooting performances of all time. And Luka could only sit there and watch from the bench as his team was getting crushed, demolished, destroyed. And ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Bryant just won championship number 5 as an Indiana Pacer, winning 5 straight championships as an individual player, which has never been done in the modern era. But there's always a twist. He didn't do it alone. This man JB did not win Finals MVP, as the center of the team ends up winning the MVP award, putting up all-time numbers. I mean, bro, you can't make this up. JB led this team the entire way, dropped 35 in Game 7, yet doesn't win MVP. He's getting the Steph Curry treatment, but nonetheless, the Pacers are defending champions, and they're back for more, bro. JB's on a quest for 6, bro. It's bigger than him. It's bigger than the Finals MVP. He would lead the Pacers to 62 wins in the first seed the following season, and he has a job to do, y'all. Despite winning Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 30 a game, the MVP would go to Tyrese Halliburton for averaging 15 and 16 assists and 2 steals. I mean, dang, bro, it's hard to argue, but bro, I feel like my boy Jordan Bryant is getting shafted. Nonetheless, they will beat the Miami Heat in the first round 4-2, face a familiar foe in the Brooklyn Nets, and we're on a quest for 6, y'all. So we're going right through these teams, man. They will beat the Brooklyn Nets in the conference semifinals, and Jordan Bryant had another all-time great playoff series. They will not be easy, but they will beat him in 7 games, and they will face the Chicago Bulls. Hey, poetic justice, huh? Gotta beat the Bulls on the way to getting 6. And that's exactly what the Pacers did, as in game 6, they will beat the Bulls by 20 on their home court and move on to the NBA Finals, which at this point, Jordan Bryant lives. And they will face the Minnesota Timberwolves of all teams. Listen, JB had an all-time great final series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he was ready to win 6, bro. You can see the look on his eyes throughout each game. They were going for a sweep. They were going for a domination. And that's exactly what happened, as Tyrese, who was the MVP of the league, and Jordan Bryant, who was the Defensive Player of the Year, were put on a masterclass in the NBA Finals. Thanks to some late game free throws from Halliburton, the Pacers would sweep the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Jordan Bryant would win his 6th championship and 2nd Finals MVP, averaging almost 32, 3.5 steals on 50% from the field. He's got 6, but that's not it, bro. JB is looking for even more. He's trying to separate himself from anybody in NBA history, so he would take his talents to the LA Lakers in a quest for 7, and also try to win Finals MVP for 3 different teams, LeBron-like. Hey, his numbers will take a little bit of a dip this season, but the goal was still the same, to win a championship. He would lead the Lakers to the 2nd seed right behind the Spurs, and with Victor winning the MVP of the league, JB took this even more personal. Hey, he knew that if he wanted to make it back to the NBA Finals this time around, he's in the Western Conference, and he will have to go through the San Antonio Spurs to get there. And that's exactly what he was trying to do. He would face the Mavericks in the 2nd round, and he would absolutely destroy them, put it on a show at the Crypto Arena, and the matchup is set. He's back where it all started. Poetic justice, huh? Going for 7, he would have to go through the team that he built his legacy on. His brothers, Victor, this whole city. This series will be a showdown. JB performed well for the Lakers, Victor performed well for the Spurs, and it was all up to a Game 7 deciding victory to see who will make it to the NBA Finals, and it was only right. Game 7 in San Antonio would determine if JB would in fact be able to win his 7th ring, and if it was up to him, it was no doubts. He put up 47 5 steals on 18 of 34 from the field, but Victor and the Spurs were just way too much for the Lakers to handle. Hey, they would dismantle the Lakers in Game 7 as they were on the way to the NBA Finals once again. Victor would go on to win championship number 5 with the Spurs. Meanwhile, JB was eliminated for the first time in almost 7 years. And as the story is written, that'll be JB's last time making it that far in the playoffs. As for the rest of his career, he was riddled with injury, bad teammates, and he would see his career fizzle out as he would average about 27 points and retire eventually, leaving him with 6 championships and a heck of a resume. Hey, you guys just saw his career. Where would you guys rank him amongst the greats, amongst MJ, Kobe, and other shooting guards? He didn't quite have all the MVPs and Finals MVPs that they had, but regardless, let me know what you guys thought about this video. Please leave a like, comment, and I appreciate you if you made it to this point, man. It means a lot. Share with me some new ideas, and until next video, it's your boy Sal. As always, hey, go drink some water.